And what is the absolutely most important thing in this world? Well, it is attitude and strategy. Without attitude and strategy, we're not going anywhere. Without the right kind of attitude, without the right kind of strategy, we're not going anywhere. We cannot improve society. We cannot improve mankind. We cannot improve humanity unless we improve and regulate and modify and correct our attitude and our strategy. Well, what has to be done in order to get this, in order to achieve a modification of attitude and strategy? Only insight. Insight is necessary for attitude. If you don't have proper insight, you will not have a right attitude. It's just how it is. If you don't have real, true insight, you cannot have a strategy that is beneficial, because you will live in a violation. You will live your own need for constituting your own experience of your own self as something valid in this world. You will be controlled by your innate need for validating your own self, because you don't have any insight, because you don't have any knowledge of yourself. It is like this. You know, if you don't have true insight, you cannot have right strategy, simply because insight produces attitude, and attitude gives strategy. Insight leads to attitude. Attitude leads to strategy. The old Taoism is 1,000 times more clever than what we recognize. Why is it that no one has given this world education? If people had true insight into themselves, they wouldn't need to be blind followers of gurus who are selfish or covert narcissists. They wouldn't need to follow fake education. They wouldn't need to follow propaganda that is not true, because truth would dismantle the power that they have. If truth came inside the institutions that have to protect themselves from the truth, then something would happen. It's like when antimatter means matter, you know. The powerhouse would evaporate. But so whatever, we need leadership, we need management, we need a real true leadership, and a true leadership will not only serve true education to the world, give true education to the world, he will also make sure that each individual have the right to live with this knowledge exactly as they want, as long as they don't hurt other people. If they hurt society or hurt other people, they have to take punishment. They have to accept punishment, because we have to keep law and order in society. We have to do that to protect ourselves. But if we have true insight, violence and crime is going to go down, because we have true insight, and we have a leadership that gives us the direction that we need, so that we calm down. We don't live in stress anymore. We don't live in hatred anymore. We don't live in PTSD anymore, because we are taken care of. We trust our leadership. We trust the leader who gives us that which we want: safety, comfort, and truth. You know, that's what we need. Safety, comfort, and truth. That's what we need. But in this world, these qualities are not available in the public sphere, simply because our leadership is not able to give it to us. They are not able to give it because they don't have anything to give. They just want you to consume. They just want you to vote. But not vote too far left and not too far right. Stay in the middle, boy. That's a good girl. You know, do that. consume as you're told to do and vote somewhere in the middle. Because that's very safe and comfortable for the institutions. But never mind, democracy is such a waste of time, because we need leadership. We need leadership. The democratic part of governance must come from the people, of course. Sure, it has to be like that. But the current system of democracy, with the different parties who differ a little bit on this and that, and the leaders are a little bit different when it comes to internal quality and knowledge. I mean, some politicians have some knowledge. Some people are good, as they say. Some people are good, and they have that which is good enough for this world. It's justified that they are in the public sphere because they are good enough. They are good enough to carry the responsibility for the improvement of global world society. It's justified that they work in the public sphere because they are good enough to carry responsibility on behalf of society. But that's not many. Not many people are like that. So we have to get awareness of this, and we have to change our system so that we can cleanse it, so that we can take out the rubbish and get the quality in its place. Because we need quality. We have to remove the rubbish because the rubbish is too expensive for us and it takes a lot of time. Bad management, bad leadership, which the rubbish produces. It just takes a lot of time and a lot of money, and it's a waste of time and it's a waste of money, and it leads to suffering. So the only reason why the world is so horribly stupid as it is now, and as it has been for so many years, it's simply because we don't have leadership and we don't accept leadership. We're so stupid that we don't accept leadership. The reason why we don't accept leadership is because we haven't seen a good one yet. We don't have a leader that we trust. We don't have leadership that we completely trust. Wow, this leadership, I want this leadership. This leadership is good. This leadership reflects the things that I want with this world. When we find that, we are happy. We don't mind to give our power away, so to speak, if the leadership is good. That's okay, that's fine. But if the leadership is not good, then I want to continue to reflect on the reasons why the leadership is not good enough. And the reason why the leadership is not good enough is simply because the leaders are not good enough. They don't have insight, they don't have attitude, they don't have strategy, they don't have knowledge. They are people in a discourse. They are notes on a musical score. They are parts of the libretto of life. And this libretto is made by notes that are not pure. But because the world has become tone deaf, we cannot hear what is pure anymore, simply because we are drowned in noise from the media. We cannot hear purity anymore. We cannot recognize authenticity. We cannot recognize true talent and authenticity anymore because we are drowned in the noise of media and of talk show hosts and of politicians and prime ministers and anyone who comes to the public eye or to the microphone and who gets attention for what they are saying. What we need is to develop a system within society that takes responsibility for the insights that we need in order to develop the right kind of attitude. Because only with the right kind of attitude can we come to the strategy that will help this planet, that will heal and help that which needs to be healed and helped. Because we are polluted by so much information. The brain has changed in a big way after the Android phone, after mobile phone, after the internet. Now we're basically addicted to internet, to mobile phones, to social media, to anything. This addiction, or this overactivity, this activity with consuming a tremendous amount of information that we never did before, of course it changes the brain. So in the next 200 years humanity is going to develop into a little different kind of human, because we are in the process of changing our brain because of internet, because of Android phones, because of the technology that we're living in, and because of how the media affect us. Any kind of media, and everything that we perceive is a media, not only the media in the telephone and in the television and on the computer, the media that we perceive from the world too. So the brain gets confused. What's true? What's news? What is breaking news? And what is this world? But it's just a little detail, it's just a little dust on the table. But anyway, insight is so important. We have to understand the human program. We have to understand how is thought created. Why do we believe in the validity of thought? How is self created? Why do we believe in the validity of self? Why do we become that which is a psychological self? Because that is not good for us. We have to see that. We have to step back from the psychological self and see with true insight, how is all of these things produced? With true insight, we wouldn't have religious wars. Spiritual people and religious people would not be fanatics, because they have insight. They know that everything is produced. Everything is a result of the brain. Everything is produced. And if we attach to that which is produced, we're going to deceive ourselves. We're going to live in delusion, because the brain produces a lot of delusions. And these delusions are what we relate to. So we need a true insight. We need insight in order to come to the right attitude. And we need the right attitude to come to the right strategy. The right attitude is, of course, acceptance of each other, accepting differences as long as we don't hurt each other. It means humility, it means softness, flexibility, respect, care, and complete knowledge when it comes to developing society, when it comes to agriculture, infrastructure, all of these things, We need the best of the best to develop that in society, which is important. And we need the right kind of insight to develop the right kind of attitude within ourselves. We need a temple in our heart. We need a God in our heart self. We need values inside our own being. If we don't cherish something that is important for us, then we will be these blind apples rolling around on the earth, We need someone to make sure that we get what we need, and that which we need is education. That which we need is insight. Insight will help in every corner of the world with every kind of a problem. Insight is extremely important. To have insight into the human program, to have insight into the brain, to have insight into how is it that we produce knowledge. What is knowledge? What is thought? How do we produce thought? Why do we believe in the validity of language? What does it do with the discourses in which we live, with the discourses in which we engage in order to communicate? Because in order to communicate, we go automatically into some kind of a discourse, into the social discourse, which is fine, as long as it is polite, understanding, and beneficial for society. That's fine. But if it is chaotic and dysfunctional, which it is now communication is chaotic and dysfunctional, because it's overheated. It's too much at the same time in any kind of place, because the world has exploded with information, and our brains are the poor little things that has to deal with this tsunami of information. We're used to it, and we're slowly getting used to getting addicted to this tsunami, to this flow of information. So we think that everything's fine, everything's okay. But it will change our brains. And we have to be careful so that we don't become machines, so that we don't become the AI that we are also trying to develop now. Because it's very easy for a human being to become AI, superficial intelligence. It's very easy to become that. When we lose the insight that can ground us in the insight into ourselves that we need to be connected to, if we lose that, then we will be swimming around in the swimming pool of discourse, in the swimming pool of communication, and the chaos and in the dysregulation of information and communication. So we need insight. We need world leaders who are good enough. We need someone to come to the table and say, no, you know what? This is not good enough. We can do better than this. We can apply our deepest knowledge in order to produce better results than this. We can become more of a quality humanity. We can become more decent. We can become more quality founded. I mean, we can be more substantial. We can be more authentic than this. We can be more original when it comes to being close to that which matters to us. We can be more serene, severe, all of this is language. My words are only words too, but I'm trying to express the substance, the authenticity, or the quality that we need to introduce into society, and that we need into our leaders, into our world leaders in particular. Now, and this time, is the horrible war in Ukraine. I mean, of course, we all know that it's very sensitive. If you're not careful, you can create a third world war. Everybody knows that. But we need deeper understanding, and we need deeper and more true connection, and not only between us and between the heart and the heart, so to speak, but between people and between politicians. And it's just a paradox that the old wise sages of the past, 2,000 years ago, even 3,000 years ago, know more about this than so many of the current leaders. It's really amazing. We have to demand a deeper quality from the people who lead society. We have to be able and allowed to demand a deeper quality of the people who control things. We have to be able to do that. If we are not allowed to demand a deeper quality of the world leaders, if we are not allowed to demand a deeper quality of the people who control things, then we're living in a tyranny. And many people, of course, believe so, that it has come to this. What is important is that we have to confront this. We have to counter this inauthentic style. We have to counter the inauthentic with our deep felt true need for a proper leadership. It doesn't have to be perfect. The leaders don't have to be perfect. They're allowed to make mistakes as anyone. But they have to be sincere, and they must be transparent. Transparency in leadership is the only nobility. But now transparency is very dangerous, because leaders cannot be transparent, because everything's corrupt. Not everyone, of course. Some people are good. As I said, some people are good. There are not too many, but some people are good. But this is how it is. We need good leadership. We need good management. We need good people who have the right kind of heart for the insight and the attitude and the strategies that we need. Not every person have this. Not every person is equipped to have the right kind of insight that will produce the best results for the world. Not every person has that quality. So we have to find these people who have that and who are able to authentically and transparently lead this world into true education, knowledge, and coexistence. Because if we don't have true education, we cannot have true coexistence. If we want to coexist, then we need the insight that can produce an attitude and a strategy that will benefit and make sure that such a coexistence can occur. A true coexistence cannot occur without insight, because without insight, coexistence will be chaotic and dysfunctional. And that's what we live in. That's what the world is. The world as a coexistence now is chaotic and completely dysfunctional. And it is dysregulated. Why? Because of this. Because we are not united in some kind of an insight. We have not agreed to accept some rules, some basic rules. We have not agreed to accept a basic system for our own existence, which would make sure and lead to the fact that we can live in good and proper coexistence. In order to live in a good and proper coexistence, we have to be able to deal with our own existence. And we're not able to deal with our own existence unless we have insight. So we need a world leadership that can accept and can be able and actually wants to educate people, to give true education to the world. Because with true education, we can be so much better than this. We can take care of this planet in 6 months. We can solve our problems in 2 years, and in 6 months we have taken care of 60% of it. With a true leadership, we can make this planet into a nice place so easily. We just have to make sure that we have a leadership that is willing and capable to address the most pressing and urgent issues, which is overpopulation, pollution, ideological warfare, and the lack of knowledge, the lack of insight, the lack of education. And of course it's also one of the problems is a financial system that has absolutely no regulations. Anyone can become a sheriff in this town. Anyone can create their own Wall Street. Anyone can play the game. Anyone can milk the cow. Anyone can become a sheriff in this town if they just make their own town, which is very possible now because it's dog eat dog. It's a rat race. It's a dysfunctional, dysregulated, chaotic society that we're living in, with 10 billion different kinds of interests, because there is no unification of strategy. There is no coherence in attitude, in insight, in strategy. There is no coherence, there is no unity, because we don't have any leadership that could provide such a unity. We don't have that. And a lot of people say that, but we don't want this. We don't want that unity. I want my freedom. I want to be my own sheriff in my own town. Yeah, that's fine, no problem. You can be that as long as you behave in a proper way. You can be as much of a sheriff as you just want. Just behave in a proper way. If you don't want to accept the basic system, the basic commandment, so to speak, if you don't want to accept the basic rules of life, that's okay. But if you hurt someone, we're going to take care of that. You have to be punished. You will be taken out of society, because we don't want damage. We cannot take damage, because now we know how dangerous that damage is, because that damage is going to grow. It's like a virus. You're going to give that virus to another person, and then another person will repeat that damage, and then the whole society has become a rat race of how to survive. This is the deepest things that we have to address if we really want to improve global world society, which is that which we have to do. And in order to improve that global world society, we have to come back to accept the fact that we actually need true basic insight, so that we can have the right kind of attitude and strategy in order to coexist in this life. And that insight is possible to get. It can be made available. Now we're living in chaos and dysregulation. We have to come back to some kind of accepting that we need to be grounded in a basic insight of how we want to live and of how we can create the best world possible. Thank you.